Do you want to play this game? Well, you can right now. My indie roguelite shooter Gunforged has a playable demo available now for Steam Next Fest. Visit the link below to download and play the demo. Please leave your feedback in the Steam community forums or as a comment on this video. I'll be picking out the best of your feedback to address in an upcoming devlog. A ton of work went into the preparation of the demo, and there's still a lot to do for the final release. For those new here, Gunforged is a 2D roguelite shooter inspired by games like Brotato and Vampire Survivors, where you fight waves of monsters by creating powerful builds. In Gunforged, you collect passive abilities and forge your guns out of randomized parts to create the ultimate monster-slaying hero. As mentioned previously, the demo is playable now. When you play it, I would really like your feedback on the gameplay, the game feel, and the fun. The demo contains the core systems upon which I'm going to build the rest of the game, so understanding the flaws and strengths of these systems is going to be crucial in making sure the game is as good as it can be. When playing the demo, you'll notice a lack of some systems which are common to the roguelite genre. These items include multiple playable characters, a permanent progression system, and multiple environments. All of these things are planned for the full release of Gunforged, although they aren't present in the demo. Again, after playing the demo, please leave your feedback in the community forums for Gunforged or as a comment on this video, and subscribe to this channel to stay up to date on the game's progress. I registered Gunforged for the Steam Next Fest several months ago. As the Next Fest snuck up on me, I began to realize that there were some big things that I needed to tackle in order to have a presentable demo for the game. The game was lacking sound effects, music, and a general degree of polish. I put a pause on new content creation for a while and spent a lot of time addressing these shortcomings. So many UI elements, sound effects, and particles needed to be added and updated. I did manage to squeeze in some new content for the demo, including a brand new elite enemy system, but I will tell you about that in a moment. As part of the polish effort, I did a pretty significant overhaul of the dungeon environment. I added details to the tile set art to make the environment seem a little dirtier. I also darkened the cracks between the tiles and enhanced the highlights to make them pop a little bit more. I added environment particles to bring the dungeon to life, including fog, water droplets, and dust. I also ripped out the old candelabras and replaced them with these stone pillars, which fit much better into the environment. As I stated earlier, Gunforged was missing music. I overlooked this aspect of the game for a while, but it was absolutely necessary for the demo. So I hopped on Fiverr and talked to a few creators, and ultimately ended up finding a really talented musician. The music he created for Gunforged is playing in the background of this video right now. Take a listen to it. Remember how I mentioned the UI work that needed to be done? Well, that was pretty tedious and took a bunch of time, but here are the cliff notes on that effort. There's now a pause menu. There's a main menu with a nice animation. There's an options menu. I redid the ammo bar art at the bottom of the screen. And there's a menu for the gun scrambler encounter, as well as the new sacrifice shrine encounter, which I will explain a little bit later. Keeping track of your passive abilities as a player was somewhat tedious. Every time you collected a new passive, it would just be added to a long list of passives, even if you were choosing a passive that you already had. To make the player passive UI and experience better, I reworked how the passive abilities are architected to support the concept of stacking. Now, there will only ever be at most one instance in the game for each passive, but this instance will take into account how many stacks of that passive you have. This made it possible for me to create dynamic text on the passive ingots, so you can see in real time how multiple instances of the same passive are affecting how that passive behaves. For example, if you collect multiple copies of the new Thunderstorm passive, it reduces the number of kills you need to trigger the passive. That's pretty neat, right? This opens the door for a lot more creative freedom in defining how stacking multiple instances of passives works. something that was not achievable easily in the other system. One classic problem with games is that the player won't necessarily know how to play your game right away, so I created a brief tutorial experience when you first play the game. This tutorial is pretty straightforward. It just requires you to use the basic controls, and then the game starts immediately afterward. As I alluded to earlier, although these past couple of weeks were focused primarily on user interface and player experience, I managed to get some new content done. Here is the new Elite Enemy system. This idea was borrowed from games like Tiny Rogues and Diablo 3. In those games, enemies have a chance to spawn with the capability to use abilities they otherwise don't have. Here's an elite rat enemy denoted by the purple fire particles. Elite enemies in Gunforged have 15 times the health that the enemy would typically have. While alive, elite enemies spawn these pulsating purple orbs that deal damage in an area. Upon slaying an elite enemy, they drop a chunk of gold and a health globe. I want to dramatically expand the types of abilities that these enemies can have in the future. My goal is to add a lot of variety to the combat with this system. The number of weapons present in the Gunforged demo is rather limited compared to the final number of weapons I want in the game. In order to slightly expand the weapon pool for the demo, I created this new lightning gun, which, you guessed it, shoots lightning. The lightning bullets move rather haphazardly, as you might expect from electricity. Along with this gun, I introduced the new shock weapon affix, which applies the shock status to enemies on hit. Enemies that are shocked call down lightning strikes randomly around them. The shock status is guaranteed to exist on the lightning receiver gun part, but can also be randomly chosen as an affix for any weapon part. In the spirit of expanding lightning offerings, I also added the thunderstorm passive, which I mentioned earlier. It summons a rain of lightning after killing a certain number of shocked enemies, and it's perhaps my new favorite passive ability. In Gunforged, I really want to create multiple different playstyles. One playstyle is going to revolve around manipulating your health by purposefully taking damage or by stacking or sacrificing health. To this end, I added a new passive ability called Robust, and this passive prevents health globes from dropping from enemies while you're in the arena, but it also heals you at the end of each wave. The amount of health you heal is equal to the number of stacks of Robust that you have. As part of my effort to expand weapon content that's available for the demo, I added another weapon affix. This affix gives you a chance to shoot a bullet from your other gun while shooting. This increases your damage output slightly in a fun way and will automatically apply the effects from your other gun. Finally, I added a new encounter which can be randomly chosen in between waves. This is the Sacrifice Shrine. If you choose to sacrifice one maximum health, you get to choose one of 3 passives the same way that you would at the end of a wave. I really like how this works. It feels really great to be able to take a gamble to get another passive ability, particularly when you're having a good run and don't need the health. Of course, the indie dev life wouldn't be complete without also doing a ton of marketing work. Gunforged was lacking a trailer for the Steam page, so I spent a number of hours putting that together and researching the best ways to make it. It's not perfect, but it's certainly the best trailer I've personally ever made. As always, there's more that I worked on that can't be mentioned in this devlog without it going for 30 minutes. But one big item that I want you to know about that I started working on is controller support. I was hoping to have controller support finished for the demo, but wasn't able to get it into a state where I like it. Controller support is coming, it's just not going to be available yet. Please go play the Gunforged demo now. Remember to leave your feedback in the comments here or in the Gunforged community forums on Steam. Again, I'll be choosing the best feedback to feature in a future video. I want Gunforged to be a game that you'll all want to play, and I need your help to accomplish that. The link to play and download the Gunforged demo is in the description below. I can't wait to hear what you think. Thanks for tuning in to this devlog, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to like and subscribe. You can wishlist Gunforged on Steam, and if you want to learn how to build a 2D survivor style game in Godot 4, you could check out my Udemy course. To stay up to date with my content, you can sign up for my newsletter at firebelly.com. Links for all of that are in the description below.